So I've been wanting to make this video for months, months and months at this point. Reason being that me making this video means that I can finally talk to you guys and give you guys a real idea of what's going on with this health update stuff. I don't have to, there's no more testing to be done because we've reached the end of the line, which is good. I'm glad to be done with testing. So if you don't know what I'm talking about with the health update stuff, I made a video, I don't know, a couple months ago at this point, talking about things that have been going on with SwingPoynt. And if you've been following me on Twitch, I've been talking about it pretty regularly. So some of this isn't going to be a super surprise for a lot of you guys. But if the only thing you've seen is that video on YouTube, and then you're like, uh-oh, what happened to SwingPoynt? Is he still okay? What's been going on? This video is going to be for you. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about in terms of a previous video, well, then this one is going to give you the whole thing. We're going to start from the beginning all the way to the end. So it might be a little lengthy in terms of me talking it all through, but you'll get the whole picture. Okay? So what started happening? Let's start from the beginning in terms of the health update stuff. Back in July of 2018, so this year, I was teaching Zumba class at the YMCA. That's where I teach all my ladies. And when I was teaching, I almost blacked out. I almost passed out, which is super abnormal for me. I've been teaching for years, and I'd been doing Zumba class for years, like over 6 years. So for me to randomly feel like I had to pass out was super weird. Like I get anxious just thinking about it. Oh my God. So my vision started tunneling in. My hearing started to go. And I had to stop because I felt like I was going to fall over. So I did. I stopped, and about 10 seconds later, I started to recover. But it was super weird for me. But I was like, okay, maybe I was just working myself too hard. I don't know what happened. So it freaked me out. But I was like, whatever. Could have just been nothing. But then it happened again the next week. And I wasn't working as hard. So that was super concerning. Man, I already did a video where I recorded all of this, and I got to say it all again. Oh, it didn't save. Okay. So after those 2 weeks, what started happening was I was dizzy for like 2 or 3 weeks. Constantly. Anytime I stood up, I was dizzy. I don't know why, and it wasn't like the whole world is spinning type of a dizzy. It was just like dazed. Like, it was like, whoa, man, whoa. Like when you stand up or something. Not like when you stand up and you have low blood pressure, but like I get up to move around and I just feel a little off center. I feel like being buzzed is a little more appropriate way of, explaining how it felt, where you stand up and you're just like, okay, things just aren't quite normal. That type of feeling. So that went on for like 2 or 3 weeks, and it wasn't going away. Eventually it did, but it wasn't going away for a while. So what I ended up doing was I went to the doctor, and I was like, okay, almost passed out a couple times, and I'm dizzy. What's going on? What do you think's going on? And my freaking primary care doctor, I can't stand this guy, but he's like, I don't know, maybe a vertigo. So he sent me home with some like Epley maneuver things and told me to take some anti-epileptics, I think. Either way, something that was supposed to help me not be dizzy. None of that helped, and I wasn't expecting it to help, but none of it helped. I was hoping it would, but it didn't. So I kind of took matters in my own hands, and I was like, I don't know, maybe it's my eyes. I'll go to the eye doctor. Maybe I've never been to the eye doctor. Maybe my eyes aren't lined up, and that's making me dizzy or something. I don't know. So I went to the eye doctor and had my first eye exam. Never did one of those before. I was 26 years old, never did one. Maybe I had one when I was like a small child, but I hadn't had one since then. Because my eyes always felt fine, and frankly, they still do. They still did. And I was just like, I don't know, maybe there's something I don't understand. So I went to the eye doctor, and my left eye is like 2015, so it's like better than 2020. My right eye is a little worse, but it's because I have an astigmatism. And my visual field was fine, meaning there wasn't any extra blind spots or enlarged blind spots. Things are pretty good. Everything came back normal, except for one thing. One thing did not come back normal, and it was the big thing that didn't come back normal. I never even knew this thing existed until I found out about it. And it was a thing called an OCT. An OCT is a type of test that looks at your optic nerves in your eye, your retinal nerve fiber layer. And in mine, my optic nerves are thin, asymmetric as well, meaning that They're not the same on both sides. Thin enough to make my ophthalmologist be very concerned. So if you take a look at an OCT, it'll show you basically a pie chart for each eye. And it's kind of split into like 8 sections, kind of like you're cutting a pizza. And each one of those sectors is either green, yellow, or red. So to explain what those colors are, or to explain how my eyes were, on my left eye, there's like a red chunk down at the bottom, and then there's like 2/3 of it was yellow, and then like the top third was green. And then on the right eye, like 1/3 of it was yellow on the bottom, I think. I don't know. And then like the top chunk, the rest of it was green. So there was significant nerve loss. And if you don't know what the colors mean, red means if you take 100 people and measure the width of their optic nerve at that point, I was dead last. 100 people, I was the worst. The bottom 1%. Yellow means that you take 100 people, you're in the bottom 5%. Green means you're in the top 95 percentile. It's just considered normal. So that was very concerning for my ophthalmologist because I'm not supposed to be like that, let alone at my age. Because things that can cause that are a lot of things, but none of which are fun or non-serious. So glaucoma is probably the least offensive out of all of them because you can usually just take drops and that helps, or do some sort of surgery to drain your eyes. Glaucoma is one of them. But my pressure in my eyes, and if you don't know what glaucoma is, it's like increased pressure in your eyes. My pressure in my eyes was 11 or 12, and glaucoma doesn't start until like 20 or 21. So those are kind of just arbitrary numbers if you don't understand what they mean. I don't really understand what they all mean either. But basically, I was plenty within healthy range for glaucoma. Other things that could be causing that type of optic nerve damage: brain tumors, brain aneurysms, elevated spinal fluid pressure, MS, aka multiple sclerosis, lupus, Lyme disease, sarcoidosis, vasculitis. I feel there's some other really great ones I'm missing in here. High blood pressure, I think. But yeah, I feel like I'm missing some, but those were some of the ones that they listed off for me. And I didn't have high blood pressure. So my ophthalmologist, after hearing that I had some neurological symptoms associated with also having optic nerve damage, became very, very concerned and thought I had MS, or was very concerned about the potential for MS. So I feel like there's one I'm missing in there that's like super scary too, but I think we got them all. Oh, did I say Lyme disease? Yeah, I think that was in there too. Either way, we tested for a bunch of crap. And either way, so he's like, you should see a neuro-ophthalmologist down in Madison, because I live in Wisconsin and Madison's like the hub for leading medicine. So he wanted me to see a neuro-ophthalmologist. But in between the time of me seeing my regular ophthalmologist and seeing the neuro-ophthalmologist, I had a bunch of other symptoms that started cropping up. Maybe because I had a panic attack, because I was like, oh my God, what if I have MS? Because the eye doctor was like, it's possible that you were just born this way and your eyes are thin like this, but it's really rare. And I've only had a couple of people my entire time practicing that are like that. And you could take that as, oh, well, there are a couple of people out there that are like this. But it's also really easy to go down the path of, oh my God, you've only met like 1 or 2 people and you've been practicing for how long? Oh, 40 years? Okay, that's really encouraging. So I wasn't feeling too great, especially because I had the neurological symptoms too. But after I got that news, I'm pretty sure anxiety took over in a way that I had never experienced before, because all sorts of stuff started happening. Like my foot would start twitching at night. I woke up from a nap and the right side of my body was numb on so many areas, like a really strong tingling. Right side of my face, right side of my scalp, right hand, down my right leg. A bunch of different things. So I ended up going to the emergency room for that, because I was like, oh my God, why is only one side of my body numbing? And like, I felt like I was having a panic attack too, or like I had a lot of heart palpitations, like a bunch of that stuff was going on. So I went to the emergency room and they did a CT scan of my brain and they couldn't find anything. CT scans really aren't that inclusive though, but it's really just to kind of see if there's like a stroke or any like large mass, anything right away. But they didn't find anything on that, which is good. What they did end up doing was they took some Ativan or some lorazepam and just sprayed it into my IV, and that calmed me down like within a minute. I could just like feel it go, and then I just like relaxed. If you don't know what that is, it's also like Xanax. It's an anti-anxiety drug that works really quickly. I think they're highly addictive, but I never had any problems with it. So I was sent home with, I don't know what's wrong with you. Maybe it's vertigo. But from that point all the way until the MRI, I was still having those numbing symptoms. Like I would try to teach Zumba. Actually, no, I didn't teach for that whole month. I took off because he was like, you probably shouldn't be doing those things. Like, I don't know, what if I have a brain aneurysm? I don't want my brain to pop, because I'm pushing myself too hard or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't do anything in terms of teaching for like a whole month, which wasn't fun. And it's kind of sat around wondering what was wrong with me, because when you get told you have MS, let me tell you, you do a lot of research on MS and you find out how scary it is. So if you don't know what MS is, it's multiple sclerosis. I don't know exactly how to say it. But basically, it's an autoimmune disorder, meaning that your immune system isn't working the way it's supposed to. And in MS's case, from my understanding, it's basically your body attacks your nervous system, your central nervous system. So like your immune system is eating your nervous system from the inside out, meaning that you start getting lesions on your spinal cord, lesions in your brain. If you don't know what lesions are, they're tissue abnormalities. So basically how MS works specifically is on your nerves. Remember this from like 5th grade science. There's a fatty surrounding on the nerves called the myelin. And that is what helps insulate your nerves so they don't get dicked with from other parts of your body, so they can release signals throughout your body without being, again, interfered with. So what happens with MS is that myelin starts to disappear because it gets eaten. Your body thinks it's tasty. And because of that, you can have all sorts of nasty things happen to you, because basically your tissues in your brain and your spinal cord aren't functioning properly anymore. So it can make it so you get stuck in a wheelchair. You can't walk properly anymore. You can't like really work out anymore. You can't control when you go to the bathroom as well. You have bad temperature regulation. So you get really cold or really hot really easily. Your vision can start to go, which is kind of where the whole optic nerve thing kind of connects that. Your vision can start to go. You can start to be, you can go blind in severe cases, or you can have decreased visual acuity. You can get tremors and shakes. You can get tingling going down just one side of your body or both sides of your body. All sorts of things, honestly, can go wrong. You can get really bad cramps, or like, when I say cramps, I don't mean like period cramps. I mean like really bad like muscle tension. I can't remember what the word is, but like it'll flare up and then your muscles get really, really, really tight. And that can happen around your stomach. It can happen in your back. It can happen all sorts of areas. So one thing to know about MS, though, is that it affects everybody differently. Like some people, 2 years after they're diagnosed, they'll be in a wheelchair. Some people get diagnosed and they live their entire life and it's just annoying. Like they'll get tired faster, or they'll get too hot too fast, or something like that. So, another one is chronic fatigue, which is something I was dealing with. Not being able to think properly, like you just have that brain fog all the time. That's another one that I was also dealing with. But what's really confusing about MS too is that a lot of these type of symptoms can be like anything, but the optic nerves can't be anything. That's something that's way more incriminating. Like you could chalk a lot of this up to anxiety, but you can't chalk optic nerves up to anxiety. That doesn't make sense. So that's why he wanted me to go see the neuro-ophthalmologist and start getting my brain scanned for all sorts of stuff. So I did that. Went down to Madison, saw a neuro-ophthalmologist. Basically somebody who looks at the brain and the eyes. They specialize in it. She said the same thing. You probably have MS. It's likely. Oh, another thing that can cause this is a B12 deficiency. Guess I should have said all that. I don't have a B12 deficiency. Get that out of the way. But either way, she thought I had MS based off of the symptoms and then what she could see with my optic nerves. But we wanted to get the MRI scan done because it could be a big list of things. So with the MRI, we were looking for either brain tumors, brain aneurysms, MS, lesions, any other basic like structure abnormalities or inflammation like vasculitis or something that didn't make sense. So I ended up getting my brain MRI, and let me tell you, that was the most stressful day of my life. I couldn't even, I tried showering that day and I couldn't. I fell down in the shower because the anxiety was so bad. I don't think I've ever had anxiety that bad in my life. And I didn't even realize it was anxiety because you don't know what's anxiety and you don't know what's MS when you're sitting there thinking you have MS because they do a lot of the same things. So MS is not only a disease of the body, it's a disease of the mind because you really have to understand yourself from everything that I've read other people say and what I felt like I was experiencing. It's a two-tier thing because so much of what that is they're related. Anxiety and then, actual physical symptoms. So I ended up getting my brain MRI and it was fine. There's nothing there. No lesions. No explanation for anything. It didn't make any sense. Which is good. I'll take that. But we weren't done. So I get the brain MRI and she's like, I don't know what's going on. So I think you should see a regular neurologist. So I saw a regular neurologist, and when I went to see the regular neurologist months later, again, this all started in July. It's December now, and I got my results like hour and a half ago, so this has been taking a while. So I saw my neurologist, met her, and she ended up doing an exam on me. So she tested all my reflexes, basically. And on a scale of 1 to 5, I believe, a lot of my reflexes were a 3, which isn't good. It means that they're brisk. They're a little too jumpy, I think, is what that means. And that shouldn't be happening. Another thing that shouldn't have been happening was my reflex in my pec. This bad boy right there. You see that? I can move that. You like that? I can make my dog's face wiggle. She went ahead and either hit me right here or hit me up here. I can't remember what she did, but either way, I had this thing called the pectoral reflex. So when she hit it, I went, oh, you're not supposed to be able to do that. That's not something that makes sense. It usually means there's something wrong in the neck, spinal cord area. So because of that, voice crack. Because of that, that further made her feel confident that once you factor in the optic nerve, the neurologic symptoms, and then also the reflexes test, that there's something wrong and we have to figure it out. So sometimes these diseases like MS or NMO is neuromyelitis optica, kind of like MS, not exactly the same, but they're very similar where your immune system is freaking out and attacking your central nervous system. It's a demyelinating disease. So that usually sits more in the spinal cord. So she wanted to go ahead and test for, or get MRI tests ordered on my C-spine and T-spine. Don't know what those are. C-spine is your cervical spine, basically your neck. T-spine is your thoracic spine, basically the rest of your back. There's a lumbar spine, but this test included the lumbar spine, but it's basically the rest of it. She looked at my whole spinal cord. On top of that, they also went and decided to test for things like lupus and Lyme and a bunch of other inflammatory diseases like vasculitis. They looked for inflammatory markers in my system. Lyme disease came back normal. Inflammatory markers came back normal. So I don't have lupus. I don't have Lyme. I don't have any of those other diseases that I don't even remember what she was testing for. Nothing in that area. So now the MRIs. Had the MRIs done. And those came back normal, which is super confusing. She was kind enough to tell me that she had never met anybody before I had these tests. She's never met a patient that has an optic nerve problem who doesn't have MS or who doesn't have neuromyelitis optica, who doesn't have some sort of pathologic thing causing it. So I was like, oh, thanks for the encouragement. I hope I'm your first one. And sure enough, nothing on my brain scan, nothing on my C-spine, nothing on my T-spine. There's no lesions anywhere. I don't make any sense in any of those areas. There's nothing wrong. So we're not done yet. Got to keep digging just to really rule things out or diagnose something. So since everything had come back normal, which completely doesn't make any sense at all, nobody was expecting any of that, the final step was the Spinal Tap. If you don't know what a Spinal Tap is, I had that done last Thursday. It's a really lovely procedure where they go ahead and they stick a needle in your back and they basically tap you like a maple tree instead of syrup coming out, you have spinal fluid pouring out of you. So yeah, they flipped me on my side, they stuck a needle in my back or into my spinal cord and let the fluid in my spinal cord leak out and tested that. And by the way, if any of you ever have to get a Spinal Tap done, I want you to remember these words from SwingPoynt to you. It's not that bad. It's really not. It really wasn't that bad. They prick you once to go ahead and numb it, and then they do it again to get the spinal fluid out. I didn't even realize that they were doing it, honestly. Like after the initial prick, I thought they were going to do another one to numb it more. I thought that's what he said. But they were done with the procedure before I knew they even got started. So it wasn't that big a deal. What sucks way more is the aftermath where you have to sit there and you're not allowed to move or go to the bathroom or do anything for like hours. And then your back hurts a lot after for a couple of days. And then I ended up getting a spinal headache. So that wasn't fun. All that stuff wasn't fun, but the procedure itself wasn't bad. And the headache sucked, but it wasn't that bad. Kind of like I had to take a break for a couple of days, but it wasn't that bad. So don't be nervous if you ever have to get a spinal tap. Try to get one at a facility that does it a lot, and try to get one where you can have x-ray precision. They use a CT scan to do it for you. And then it's really not that bad. At least in my experience, it wasn't. So what they're testing for with the spinal fluid was they were looking for NMO antibodies. So again, testing for NMO again, but instead of looking for it on the spinal cord via lesions, they were looking for it like in a blood test, basically. They were looking for O bands, oligonical bands, which are evidence of MS in your system, basically. Like I think your body makes these proteins and you can find them in the spinal cord if you have MS. So they were looking for those. And they were also looking for other things like sarcoidosis, like the house disease. It's never sarcoidosis. That one. They were looking for that and some other things too. I don't know what they were all looking for. But that came back about an hour and a half ago. And I get to tell you guys that they have found that I have nothing wrong with me. They don't know what's going on. I'm just weird. I could have told you that, SwingPoynt. We already knew you were weird. Thanks. I know you're a bunch of comedians in the comments. I've already heard that one. Get some new material. Yeah, I don't know. And that's pretty much what they told me too. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Not only are these diseases rare though, they're even more rare to have something be wrong and then not have any reasoning behind it, like the optic nerve thing. They don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. The person my neurologist has been practicing for 7 years, but then she's consulting with somebody who's been practicing for like a way longer and they had never seen it either. It's not unheard of, at least if you look on Google. But it's really rare to have optic nerve atrophy, which is what I have, and have no real explanation for it. So where I'm at now, let's think about this. I mean, being told they can't find anything wrong with you, but still having something wrong with you, that'd be bad. I'm being told there's nothing wrong with me, and I'm feeling okay, though. I'm feeling good lately. So I'll take that then. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe I just had a bad time in my life. I don't know. I don't know what it could have been. Maybe stress was too high. Maybe anxiety took over. I don't know. It doesn't explain the eyes. Nothing really does. The only, I guess further on that note, though, my pressure in my spinal cord measured out as a 25. I don't know if that's high. I asked if it was high. She said it was appropriate. I might ask her again because I think that might be a little high, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of the symptoms I had were due to that. But one other thing it could be is this hereditary disease called Leber's hereditary neuropathy, I think. I could get tested and get genetic testing done to see if there's anything there for that. I don't know that I'm really interested in doing it because if they do find out I have it, it doesn't change anything. And I'm kind of just done being a lab rat right now. And not only that, Leber's disease is really, really rare. And a lot of times if you do have it, it hits you fast. And that hasn't happened to me. My optic nerves haven't progressed at all in terms of damage. So that doesn't make sense with Leber's. And then also, I haven't had any weird eye symptoms. I would have had those if I had that disease, I'm pretty sure. Like, I haven't had any visual field loss. I haven't had any color vision loss. I haven't had anything. I never even had optic neuritis, which is something that they look for when it comes to MS and all that type of stuff. I never had any of these weird eye problems. My eyes feel like they're worse than they used to be, but I think that's because these glasses, let me tell you, when you start wearing glasses, you start feeling like you need them all the time. My eyes usually go back to normal when I'm not wearing them. So, but now I wear them because things are just a little more clear and I like it. But yeah, I don't make sense. Nothing makes sense. So trying to figure out Like one thing you do when you have months to really contemplate whether or not you have a lifelong chronic disease that's not going to get any better and your nerves are going to eat themselves from the inside out and they're never going to heal and you're just going to slowly become more disabled. You have lots of time to think about that. You learn a lot about yourself. So, what have I learned about myself in this time? I learned a lot about anxiety. Because nothing really drives it up higher than when you feel like you have something like that. When you feel like when you're 26 years old and you suddenly are being told you have a lifelong chronic disease that's only going to get worse. I feel so lucky that I don't have that. And I feel a lot of sympathy for those that do. And let me tell you, reading Reddit posts from people that do have it, it's so sad, but like there's so many people that are also so polite and encouraging, and they help me, and I don't even have anything, but like when you feel like when you're being told you have it, they're still helpful. But I guess what I've learned in terms of like anxiety and things I've changed, I mean, things that I started doing that I think helped me feel better, I started going to the chiropractor. So it's possible that a bunch of this stuff, like I was just out of whack and out of alignment. Like just about every single vertebrae in my spine is fixated or twisted a little bit, or something's just not right from a chiropractic standpoint. So that could have been causing a lot of problems too. I got a new bed, so maybe that started helping. I cut out some really stressful things in my life, which is not really worth talking about in this video, but I don't have to worry about those things anymore. I also started hanging out with friends more and met some new people, and they've been really bright spots in my life. So that's helped reduce stress and bring in some different parts of like joy into my life, which trying to add all this up, I think it all helps. I started taking vitamins more regularly. I was low on vitamin D, not catastrophically low, but I was low. So I started taking vitamin D. I ended up multivitamin. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Doctors don't know what to tell me either. So I guess that's where we're at. I'm going to start getting regular checkups every 6 months or so to see if the eyes are progressing at all. But I had my first checkup, like I said, about a week and a half ago, and things were fine. Nothing's progressed, so that's good. So I just get to sit here and be weird. And have these 5 months to really, or these last 5 months to really just be something I learned from. Again, and another thing I think, that was stressing me out, it happened a couple of months beforehand, but 2018's been kind of rough. My cat also died, if you don't remember that. Chubbs died back in May. This all started in July, so I don't know. Maybe if I just wasn't over it then yet, I don't know. But either way, a lot of stressful things have been going on in 2018 for SwingPoynt. But the end of 2018 is looking pretty good so far. Whew, the voice crack. Looking pretty good so far. And going into 2019, I'm thinking will be pretty good too. I hope 2019 is better than 2018. 2018 has not been a fun year. It's been good for like Twitch and YouTube with you guys, but a lot of the other stuff wasn't great. So I'm hoping for a good 2019. I know you guys will be here with me for it, just like you have been the whole time, and I appreciate that so much. If you have any questions or you have anything that you deal with or you just want to talk about in the comments, one thing I learned is that you guys are there for each other and you're there for me. So go ahead and talk about it, man. Even if nobody replies, somebody's reading it. And I think that means something. So just know that there's people that read your comments and they think about you and they either feel good for you or feel bad for you. Like they'll think about you. And I think that goes a long way too. But yeah, here we are, man. 5 months later, here's the health update video, and I'm as good as I could ask for. So, if you guys have been watching me on Twitch, you know that already. Except for the Spinal Tap stuff. That came back like an hour and a half ago, but all this other MRI stuff, you already know that. I talk to you guys every single day on Twitch. So if you ever want to hang out with me, I'm plugging myself at the end of my own health update video. Deal with it. But yeah, I talk to you guys every single night on Twitch, so if you ever want to go hang out with me, it's around 10 p.m. Eastern. And we can talk more about this, or you guys can tell me your stories. One thing that really helped during those Twitch streams was I did have a couple people who were like, I have this going on with me, or, I have optic nerve atrophy, but there was nothing wrong with me. I had somebody come in and say that. Like those types of things, having those conversations with you guys, I cannot tell you how much that mattered. How much that helped. Just like, and the whole idea that like, everybody's going through something. And you know what? We're all on the same team here as humans. We all got to try to, be there for each other, work together and support each other because everybody needs a little bit of help. They just need it at different times in their life. And let me tell you, you guys were there and it meant so much to me. So thank you so much. So yeah, no news is good news, I guess. I'll take it. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you so much. YouTube, for me, I really stopped uploading a lot when I was getting sick and in the process of recovering. Now that this cloud of what's possibly wrong with you is gone, I think anxiety is going to only get better. And I'm looking forward to kind of just get back on the full swing of things here. So I think it'll be good news. It'll be good for us. It'll be good for the channel. And again, I just want to thank you guys for being there. So hopefully I don't have to re-record this again. This is the second time I recorded this because the other time it broke. Thank you guys for being here. You guys are the best. I'm going to end it here. I'll see you guys tonight after I teach Zumba tonight. And we'll talk more about it if you want to talk about it then. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves. And then I'll see you in the next video that we do around here.